All right, friends, we got another video to react to by JasonBlaha, which he's posted. So I'm gonna react to this gym lifting recruiting fitness slaves video. JasonBlaha. Blaha says, I was wrong about lean gains and recomposition. Okay.
I was wrong about lean gains. Hey everybody, it's JasonBlaha here. I thought I would chat with you guys and get a little bit about this today, but a quick reminder, if you would please click like down below. If you are not subscribed or following me yet, please do so. And on top of that, I would greatly appreciate it if you would leave me a comment down below. Thank you so much. This is a topic to where I've had to eat crow on a number of times, and people have gotten really upset with me over it. You know, that's been the strange thing. You know, I used to say years ago, trying to maintain or make only lean gains or staying at the same body weight and recomping caused wheel spinning, and I believe that because I bought into the traditional stuff like we all did, of bulking and cutting being necessary. And I pushed this for years. You know, but in the last couple of years, 2-3-ish years, I've kind of said, hey guys, I've noticed the longer I coach and I work with weight class athletes that I don't think that's really the case. Man, people got upset. Oh, you're flip-flopping. Well, and here's the other issue too. Then all these studies started coming out on it, and other coaches realizing the studies and the literature show that, yeah, we really don't have to bulk to maximize muscle growth. And here's the thing. That's a case where if you are an honest person.
I love this one. We don't have to bulk to maximize muscle growth. Well, if there's nothing damaged there to grow, then what's the point of bulking? That makes absolutely no sense. Let me just bulk. See, here's the thing. If bulk could build the muscle, then why do you need to lift weights? What's the purpose?
And you have any integrity, you step back and go, you know what? I said the opposite for years. I adamantly pushed the opposite for years, but my own real world experience as a coach, the data coming out in the scientific literature is all disagreeing with that position.
He's not a coach.
I've been proven wrong.
He's a fake coach, a pretend coach.
Okay? And here's what I would say to people. You know, and this is always the thing I would say, would you rather listen to someone who treats everything they tell you like religious dogma? Or would you rather someone who steps back, puts their ego to the side and says, you know what guys, I was wrong, and if I'm gonna give you the best advice that I possibly can, I have to go with the weight of the evidence. I mean, if it's real evidence, a lot of exercise science studies are trash. Nutrition tends to be quite a bit better as a field, you know. But would you rather someone say, hey, I was wrong, disregard what I said before, here's better information, and what I said wasn't necessarily useless, but it also wasn't necessary. You can absolutely do this other thing, it does work. I was wrong when I said that you only can do A, okay? That B doesn't work, that actually it turns out B works just as well. And in some cases may even be better. Again, someone who wants to stay leaner, someone who doesn't want to deal with the muscle loss of the cuts and everything else. Yeah.
Okay.
Like, who would you rather listen to?
Well, not Blaha, that's for sure. I have no clue what he's talking about, bro. He just doesn't make any sense in any of his videos, but okay, whatever.
Like, who's going to give you better advice? The person who says, you know what, I've been proven wrong and I have to change my position.
Been proven wrong. Well, yeah, definitely. If you've made a mistake, for sure. You know, we're always learning. Nobody's perfect, right? So you pass on this information, but you build on it. But Blaha is always wrong.
Or the person who arrogantly says, I've never been wrong. I'm always right. I've been right for 20 years and nothing is ever wrong, you know. And it's based on weight of evidence. I do get people who do that. They're like, but you argue that with stuff. I'm like, no, if there's 37 studies saying something and all the researchers say we can't find any evidence to the contrary, and there's a myth that the contrary is true, yeah, I'm gonna clown you for it because it's not factual. And there's a lot of nutrition stuff like that. I will say that online because you guys are being ridiculous. It's not a question of opinion. It's a question of you don't have any evidence to support your goofball position. You know, that's a
55-year-old men are going to hate this. Forge is having...
don't have any evidence to support your goofball position. You know, that's a problem. Because this chiropractor who wrote a book on nutrition who lost his license to practice said it. Well, great. That doesn't stand up to 37 nutritional science studies in the metabolic ward. You know, not how it works. But back over to the point, I digress. Yeah, I had to change my position because the accumulated evidence shows, in fact, I'll go so far as to say we don't really have evidence that a calorie surplus is required at all for someone who's not lean, to not just to gain muscle, but to maximize muscle. Like, we know a calorie surplus is...
You don't need to be. You need to be on a high nutrient diet, because I told you before in my last video, I said in the summertime last year, all I did was, like you saw my videos, eating at the buffet. I just ate beef, right? I ate beef. People are going to ask you, oh, how is your blood level and this and that? I used to put my arm in that thing, remember, at the pharmacy. My everything is perfect, bro. Perfect. My blood levels, this, that's still perfect. What's I gonna say now? Yeah, it's perfect, bro. I don't know what this guy's talking about. So you eat a lot of meats, high nutrients. High nutrients will make you lean because your body thinks it's not in a starvation, not in a deficit where we're starving. That's all.
They're required to gain muscle. So the idea that you're going to spin your wheels at maintenance is ludicrous. That's a ludicrous idea. Because we have dozens of recomposition studies. We've had recomposition studies for 20, 30 years. Right? So let's be clear on that. That's not even the case. That is not even in question. We've always argued recomp is slow, not that it doesn't occur. It's been proven repeatedly to occur even in advanced lifters in the lab over and over and over. All right. The question is, can
okay, whatever you say.
we maximize growth without it? We don't have evidence that someone who's like 14, 15, 18, 20% body fat, well, especially you start hitting 20% body fat, I can't find a single shred of evidence that would suggest they need a surplus to gain muscle. They could recomp just as fast as if they bulked. Okay?
You're not building muscle bulking if there's no damage. You're wasting your time. He's full of it.
Leaner people, we may need, this is where we get into the debate, we may need a small surplus. But that's what the evidence has been showing. It's a smaller surplus than we thought it was. It's literally something like a 3%. Let that sink in for a minute. Not a 10%. Studies comparing 10% versus 3%, a 10% was way more fat. You're still just gaining fat. A 3%, we're talking about 100 extra calories over your maintenance. And I think what people forget with this maintenance thing, they're forgetting your maintenance calories includes your recovery from training and muscle growth. Okay, we need to be clear. All right, that is part of your maintenance. If you are training harder and in an anabolic state, your maintenance is going to go up. It requires calories to build muscle. Okay? So you're going to need more calories if you're...
Yeah, you could be training in anabolic state. What's an anabolic growth state? When more nitrogen is coming in than is being released. So you suppress the catabolic hormone, it's converted to an androgen, so it doesn't have to compete with the myocytic androgen receptor, making you anabolic. Okay, and now what? Now what? You're building muscles? Are they really building? How are they building? There's nothing damaged, so there's nothing remodeling there.
Training hard enough to build muscle just to maintain.
Now, I do know this though. If there is even a little bit of damage, then it definitely, so here's the thing. There's 3 stages of damage in your body when you're lifting. I've done a video on it. Look way back, okay? So the small amount of damage, usually your body will just forego it. It will forego remodeling it. It'll repair it, but it will not remodel these muscles. And so that's the problem with getting small amounts of damage. You know what I mean? Going into the gym, You may get some. That's why they say in the second week they got much less damage. Yeah, much less damage. And what happens? It forgoes this remodeling. But with amino acids, apparently with amino acids, it says that even with the smallest amount of damage, it will come back and grow and remodel those muscles. So does that aid in it? Yeah. So why wouldn't you take something that would help you? See what I mean? It's the whole point.
So keep that in context. It's not like, well, I started training harder and, and trying to eat the same calories. Well, you're going to be in a deficit now. But there's plenty of evidence that if the deficit is kept small and the training is really dialed in, fatigue management's dialed in, protein is high, that you gain muscle even in a deficit. People cut too fast. Just like they bulk too fast and get fat, they cut too fast.
You mean they starve too fast?
They cut too.
You mean they starve too fast? They try to starve themselves to get lean. You don't have to starve yourself to get lean. You can eat yourself lean. You understand me? A high nutrient diet. How hard is that? Why do you have to go through this bullshit calorie thing like Blaha? I gotta starve myself or lower calories. Eat, the slave food. I gotta lower the slave food diet and starve myself. Skinny. Okay. Some will do it slow. Blaha says you'll lose your muscle if you go too fast. Yeah, it's kind of obvious. You know what I mean? But anyway, whatever, man. But you don't have to go through all that. Just eat high nutrient diet and it'll go away.
Fast.
Look, man, protein meat is not stored as an energy source. So if you're eating like animal meat, muscle meat, okay? And even the organs, like, liver, whatever, heart, this, that. It's not going to store as an energy source. So, you know what I mean? What's your body going to tap into? Well, the fat. If there's any fat there, it's going to tap into a fat as an energy source. You understand me? To sustain your muscle. So, you don't really have to starve yourself because your cells, they live off nutrients. They are only interested in nutrients. As long as they get the nutrients, they'll stay fresh and well, and your body will start burning the fat as energy. That's it.
Again, therein lay the problem.
Therein lay the problem.
Cutting way too fast.
Therein lay the problem.
So then you're losing muscle and strength. If you just cut really slow, it is literally possible to gain muscle on a small deficit. This has been...
No, it's not.
Documented.
It's not. He's lying. He's lying.
In the lab with DEXA scans and MRI.
Yeah, but that thing they did, that test was specific, and you don't know all the details. He's not mentioning all the details that went into it.
Nice. It's not a lot of muscle, but it's something.
I like that. It's not a lot of muscle, but it's something. Yeah. They had to do something specific where the damage was minimal, and they tried to get it to remodel from that small amount of damage. See what I mean? But whatever.
So in other words, you could be gaining muscle all the time, whether you're bulking, cutting.
Yeah. If you take amino acids and even the small amount of damage that you have, you can be building muscle all the time. And you have to be eating and be in a positive nitrogen balance. You understand me? Yeah.
You're recomping.
Now, what does that look like? I can't tell you. You're building up density. Density, mass, the density. Here's the thing. You're getting denser because you're getting more myofibrillars or more sarcomeres, more myofibrillar growth. And that will add to the mass. The more of them that you get, you start building up what they call mass. So you get dense and you get mass, density and mass. See what I mean? You understand me? The density adds to the mass. So the more of them you get, the more mass you increase. You understand me? But whatever. People just will never understand that.
Guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today.
Thank God. That's all I have to say too. I'll see you in the next one. Another ridiculous video with Blaha. See you in the next one. Ciao, friends.